Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, I am going to be reading two upcoming mystery releases. In this video, I will be reviewing The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell, which is scheduled to be published by Atria Books this week on March 7th, 2023. And I will also be reviewing The Poisoner's Ring, the second novel in the A Rip Through Time series by Kelly Armstrong. This is scheduled to be published by Minotaur Books in May. It is May 23rd, 2023. Thank you to the publishers for providing me with these ARCs via NetGalley in exchange for an honest review. I will link my Goodreads reviews for both of these books in the description down below. Now let's dive into the first review. So the first ARC that I read this month was The Golden Spoon by Jessa Maxwell, and I ended up giving this book 4 stars. The second I read what the premise of this book was, I knew it was just something I needed in my life, because this book is a mystery that takes place on the set of a baking competition show. I love murder mysteries, and I also love The Great British Bake Off. So combine them into one story, and I'm there. I am there. The fictional reality show in this book is called Bake Week. It is hosted by Betsy Martin, who is a very famous baker nicknamed America's Grandmother. All of the contestants arrive at her Victorian estate in New England to compete on the show. The show is very clearly meant to be like the Great British Bake Off. They use a lot of the same terminology, such as the tent, and I thought that was just a lot of fun as someone who loves Bake Off, just seeing the similarities and references. I really enjoyed it. Of course, this is a murder mystery, so not everything is all cupcakes and rainbows. We find out early in the book that the network has just decided to introduce a new co-host for Bake Week, and Betsy is worried that they are going to try to take her show, her baby, out from under her. As the 6 contestants descend upon Grafton Manor for this year's competition, things start to go wrong. They suspect that some of the contestants are being sabotaged, and before Bake Week is over, someone will be dead. I felt like all of the contestants had distinct personalities, and I know I definitely had my favorites. I also thought that all the descriptions of the baked goods they were creating for the competition, mouth-watering. I wish I could have sampled some of the desserts because they sounded absolutely delicious. I do think it's important to mention while reviewing this book that it is definitely a mystery, not a thriller. A lot of times you hear people use mystery and thriller interchangeably. However, I think this book is only going to work for mystery readers. Someone who wants a thrilling, fast-paced book with a lot of action is probably not going to like this book because that's not really what it's trying to do. It is much more a slow burn, cozy mystery. So I think you need to pick up this book having the right expectations. The murder in this book does not happen until I think around the 75 to 80% mark. I personally was still engaged in what was happening, and I was looking forward to continue to read. However, I think somebody who needs a really fast-paced book with a lot of action is not going to be pleased by this. I think this book is perfect for the whole cozy mystery crowd. People who like Bake Off and Agatha Christie, like me. Those people are the target audience for this book. I do think the ultimate reveal of who the murderer was not the most surprising. I could predict where the book was going, But I still enjoyed it overall, and I think it did meet my expectations. I was looking for a fun, easy mystery read inspired by The Great British Bake Off, and that's exactly what I got. I gave this book 4 stars, and I will definitely check out the planned Hulu adaptation when it comes out. All in all, this was a really fun book, and I think that the right reader is really going to enjoy it. And then I read The Poisoner's Ring by Kelly Armstrong. This is the second book in the A Rip Through Time series. I read the first book in the series in 2022 and I gave it 4 stars, so I was very happy to be approved for the arc. I ended up giving this sequel 3.5 stars. Obviously, I cannot tell you too much about the plot of this book because it is a sequel and I don't want to spoil the first book. I will tell you the basic premise of this series is that a 21st century detective named Mallory finds herself transported back in time to Victorian-era Edinburgh in the year 1869. She ends up in the body of a housemaid called Katrina, and Katrina works for this man named Dr. Duncan Gray, who is a medical examiner in this time period. So Mallory, in Katrina's body, finds herself using her modern-day police knowledge to aid Dr. Gray in his murder investigations. 2 other characters we met in the first book are also a major part of this sequel. We have Isla, who is the older half-sister of Duncan Gray. She is a chemist, and I really love her character. She's very intelligent and strong-willed. And also we have Detective Macready, who is the childhood friend of Duncan and Isla, who often works with Duncan on his police investigations. Macready also clearly has a bit of a crush on Isla. I think everyone can see it but Isla, and it's adorable. I really love both of these characters. In The Poisoner's Ring, our 4 heroes find themselves having to investigate the poisoning deaths of several men around Edinburgh. One of the victims is this man named Lord Leslie, who happens to be Duncan and Isla's brother-in-law, the husband of their sister Annis, and the police begin to suspect that Annis might have had something to do with poisoning her husband. So naturally, Mallory, Duncan, Isla, and Detective Macready have to investigate to figure out, did Annis actually kill her husband? And if she didn't, how are they going to save her from the gallows? So what I like about these books is I love our 3 main Victorian characters. Like I said, I love Isla. I just love her personality and her experiences as a woman chemist in this patriarchal time period. I also love Detective Macready, who is a genuinely good guy trying to do his best, working at this, at times, corrupt police department where the best man doesn't necessarily always win. And Dr. Gray is also a really great character. He is mixed race. He is half white and half Indian. You don't often see men of color as the main romantic leads in historical fiction, and so I really love his character and reading about his experiences as a mixed race medical examiner in Victorian Scotland. Overall, I found the mystery plot of this sequel fairly entertaining as well. The problems that I have with these books, I don't connect with Mallory as the main character like I want to. And while I was reading this book, I spent a lot of time thinking about this. I asked myself, why is it that I can't love Mallory and empathize with her like I do with the 3 other characters? Because I love the 3 other main characters. I think they are really well written and I am very invested in their stories. I don't hate Mallory, but I wouldn't say that I really like her either. And after doing that self-reflection, I think I understand now why it is her character doesn't really work for me. I think she is too perfect, and it doesn't read authentic to me. When you are reading any book, watching any TV show, or any movie, the main character needs to have a character arc. There needs to be something that is missing in their life. There needs to be a flaw they need to overcome, a goal they're trying to reach. And the plot of the story has to help them on that journey so they end up in a different place from where they started. I don't know if that is really happening here with Mallory. Obviously, she does have a problem. She's a 21st century woman trapped in the 19th century, and she has no idea if she can get back to her modern life and her family. However, she does not, in her internal narration, really reflect on her 21st century life all that much, and she rarely gets emotional thinking about her modern day life and family. So I think it's a little hard to fully empathize with her experience when her modern life and her family that she's missing really aren't touched on all that much. At times, it's easy to forget that she has this life and family she wants to get back to. And if you asked me to describe Mallory's personality, I would have a hard time thinking about character flaws she has. I think the author wants us to admire Mallory, to think of her as this very intelligent, capable, and socially aware modern woman who is bringing her superior knowledge to the past. However, it doesn't feel realistic to me because every person has flaws. And I think I would like Mallory more if there was something she was getting out of her experience in the past. If this time in the past was teaching her something about herself and her wants and her needs. I want to see her grow as a person in some way. However, I don't think that's really happening because the author is presenting her as this really enlightened person without giving her flaws as well. And I said it when I reviewed the first book, I will say it again, I find Mallory's narration at times annoyingly judgmental towards Victorian society. Now, the characters of Dr. Gray, Isla, and Detective McCready are all very tolerant and socially conscious for people in the Victorian era. They're probably like the most liberal Victorians you would ever meet. And that's fine, because I think when you're writing historical fiction, it is a very fine line. You want to be true to the historical reality, but also you need your main characters to be people that a modern day reader can sympathize with. So I don't have a problem with her depicting the Victorian characters as being particularly enlightened. What I have a problem with is Mallory sort of in her monologue painting Victorian society as backwards. Quite often she comments on how ridiculous things they do are, and it to me comes across as very judgy, which I don't like. That people in Victorian society or any society were human beings just like us, and there were things that made them different, but they also had the same common humanity. Yeah, they did things that nowadays we know are not right and might see as backwards, but let's not act like we as a society are perfect either. Centuries from now, if mankind is still on this earth, they're gonna look back at our 21st century lives and be like, oh my God, can you believe people in the 21st century didn't know better than doing X, Y, and Z? So I don't think having this judgmental attitude towards people in the past is really helpful, and I don't like that kind of tone to Mallory's internal monologue. The other thing is, the author is clearly a progressive based on comments in her books, and that's great. I love it when a historical fiction novel touches on social issues that are relevant both to the past and today. I mean, pretty much all my favorite historical mystery novels involve headstrong heroines fighting against the patriarchy. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is quite often Mallory makes comments in her narration where she's echoing 21st century progressive talking points, and those talking points are not at all relevant to the overall plot of the story. But when she keeps bringing up these things that are not relevant to what's going on in the book, it just comes across as very forced and like she's trying to achieve an easy moral win, for lack of a better term. Like I said, I love talking about social issues in historical fiction. I think that's really great and it can be really interesting, but you do not have to address every single social issue under the sun. You need to keep your commentary relevant to the plot, because if you're just throwing out progressive talking points when they're not really relevant, it doesn't come across as natural, and that is what I don't like about Mallory's narration in these books. And that's a problem that I had both in the first book and in this one as well. Overall, I still felt like this was an enjoyable read, and I would consider continuing the series. The thing is, if I do end up reading the third book, I am not going to be reading it for Mallory. I'm going to be reading it for Dr. Gray, Isla, and Detective McCready. They, to me, are just more developed characters than Mallory, and they're the ones that I'm really invested in. Unfortunately, I just haven't been able to connect with our main character like I hope to, and I think what I just said is the reason why. I feel like she needs to be more complicated, more flawed, and also have just an overall less judgmental attitude towards people in the past. Because people in the past were people too, and no one is perfect. So everyone, those were my reviews of The Golden Spoon and The Poisoner's Ring. Definitely check out these books when they are released if you are interested. And once again, thank you to Atria Books and St. Martin's Press for giving me these copies via NetGalley. I am so thankful and I really enjoyed getting to read these. I only just signed up for NetGalley in December, so these were the first 2 arcs I ever had the pleasure of reading, and they will definitely hold special places in my heart because of that. Let me know, are either of these books on your TBR? Do let me know in the comment section. And if you're still watching but you don't know what to comment, how about you leave a sparkle emoji in the comment section down below. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a splendid rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.